Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the IndieZoNe. My name is Kathy. Were you aware that the parties filed a stipulation regarding 4 individuals who will be permitted to be in the courtroom during the entire trial, irrespective of the fact that they are also going to be apparently providing testimony at the upcoming trial in Idaho versus Kohberger, and that the court, Judge Stephen J. Hippler, granted that stipulated agreement. And so these 4 individuals will be in the courtroom during the entire pendency of the upcoming trial commencing this summer in Idaho versus Kohberger. Who are they? Well, let's take a look at the court order of March 4th, 2025, granting this stipulated agreement. It is entitled Order on the Parties' Stipulated Agreement Regarding Investigators in the Courtroom During Trial. So these are people who are deemed as investigators, who will be there to assist both sides. During the trial, you're going to see defense counsel with Mr. Kohberger at the defense table and the prosecutors at the state's table in the courtroom, and perhaps seated at these respective state and defense tables will be these investigators, or they could be seated in the gallery in one of the aisles that you've seen if you've watched any of the televised hearings on the Ada County official YouTube channel. This order, which was signed by Judge Stephen J. Hippler, district judge who was presiding over the case, indicates that the court, having before it the stipulated agreement of the parties regarding investigators in the courtroom during trial and good cause appearing, now therefore it is hereby ordered in capital letters, the defense shall have both of their investigators present during the trial, and the state shall have their lead investigators from the Moscow Police Department, Corporal Brett Payne, and Idaho State Police, Sergeant Darren Gilbertson, present during the trial without limiting their ability to testify. So ordered, and we see handwritten February 27th, 2025. Now let's look at both the stipulation and this order. Neither names who the investigators for the defense are. The state, however, in the stipulation identified who their lead investigators were and are. One is a name that should be very familiar to you. That's Corporal Brett Payne. He, of course, signed the affidavit of probable cause dated December 29th, 2022. It's document number 1 on the court docket for Idaho versus Kohberger. That affidavit of probable cause led directly to the issuance of the order finding probable cause based on Detective Payne's statements, and also a warrant for Mr. Kohberger's arrest and no bail. They were signed December 29th, 2022 by Magistrate Judge Megan E. Marshall, who also served as the initial judicial officer in this case until the time the indictment was returned in Latah County, for which Mr. Kohberger is facing trial on. There were 5 first-degree felony counts. The case at that time then was transferred to Judge John Judge, who was the district court judge, and he presided over the case from May of 2023 until September of 2024, when the defense's motion for change of venue, initially filed January 30th, 2024, was granted. The case was then transferred to Ada County, and ever since then, September of 2024, it's been Judge Stephen J. Hippler who has been presiding over the case. So most people familiar with the case have heard of who Corporal or Detective Brett Payne is. He was the lead detective in the investigation of the crimes that occurred at 1122 King Road. The name of Sergeant Darren Gilbertson is not, I imagine, as well known to people, although his name has come up in some of the court filings. He is with Idaho State Police. He has been named as the lead investigator here for Idaho State Police, and you will recall from the affidavit of Detective Brett Payne, the affidavit of probable cause, that Detective Payne indicated Moscow Police Department, who were the lead investigators into the case because the horrendous crimes occurred in Moscow in their jurisdiction, and invited in other law enforcement agencies to help them with the investigation, Idaho State Police being one. So we know now that Detective Payne and Sergeant Gilbertson will be in the courtroom during the entire trial, as will the two unnamed investigators for the defense. Now, what does this mean without limiting their ability to testify? Well, it appears that all four of these investigators will be called to testify at trial. And sometimes what happens in cases is, until the point when a certain party is called to the stand, that party will be not allowed to be in the courtroom to hear what, for example, other witnesses are saying. Here, Judge Hippler has said that these four investigators will be permitted to be in the courtroom during the pendency of the case without limiting their ability to testify. That's what that means. If you would like to review these documents or any other documents from the case file of Idaho versus Kohberger, which I very strongly recommend that you do, please follow the link that I have provided in the description to this episode of the IndieZoNe, and you can read these matters, this order and this stipulated agreement, as well as all other filings in Idaho versus Kohberger for yourself. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them here. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.